All right, everybody, welcome. We're live. This is the weekly podcast that we do, co-streamed in all three of our channels. You got Futuraza, Brian White. You got Investing Against the Grain, Nicholas Gibbs. We're going to start off with breaking news. Just now, we had this post from Elon Musk. Or sorry, not Elon. Sorry, Donald Trump. President Trump basically said, based on the lack of respect that China has shown to the world's market, I'm hereby raising the tariff charged to China by the United States of America to 125%. Effective immediately. This is a straight-on tariff war right now, directly with China. At some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize that the days of ripping off the USA and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. Conversely, and based on the fact that more than 75 countries have called representatives of the United States, including the Departments of Commerce, Treasury, and the USTR, to negotiate a solution to the subjects being discussed relative to trade barriers, tariffs, currency manipulation, and non-monetary tariffs, and that these countries have not, at my strong suggestion, retaliated in any way, shape, or form against the U.S., I have authorized a 90-day pause and a substantially lowered reciprocal tariff during this period of 10%, also effective immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So this is huge news. Immediately, what we've seen here is the stock for Tesla has skyrocketed. I'll share that right now. Thoughts on what you guys are seeing there? How important is this?
The sheer audacity of China to sell us things that we want at a price we're willing to pay, they must be punished, surely. I'm just thinking fondly of a gentleman yesterday who said, I'm shorted to 180 and I'm going to ride it all the way down to 180. And good luck. Good luck. Let me know how that works out for you. Shorting Tesla is a great way to make someone rich. Not you, certainly not you, but someone. The people on the other side of the trade.
Look at that, eh? The stock has popped $38, almost 18% just on that news.
It's chaos.
I mean, I can hear the sarcasm from Brian's side, but I would say I won't lie. I kind of think this was a very clever move on the White House. I didn't see this coming. This is
what?
Okay, you show me the post where you saw this coming, where you posted that Trump would make a maneuver to say, I'm going to give everyone else a reprieve, but China, this is going to be you and me one-on-one. You show me where you posted that, or anybody posted that.
No post on that. I think I was reacting to was this idea that it's common knowledge that Donald Trump, his way of negotiating, the art of the deal, he comes out strong and he backs down quickly. And so this idea that there was going to be a 90-day reprieve.
No, hold on. Time out.
The 90-day pause was leaked a few days ago, right? Last week, that this was going to happen already. That this wasn't something that was just made up, and they knew that was going to be their second, like, plan B kind of thing. So I don't think that there's a surprise that there's a 90-day pause. That was something that many people knew, and then he needed to do it right away. The market reacted. Yeah,
Herbert, you are. I don't know what you're doing right now. Give credit where it's due. You did not know that. If you knew that, you would have been loading up on a whole bunch of Tesla calls, or you would have taken out a loan to put on right now to do for this move. You would have.
Well, I don't play options like that, but I did. I've been the last week. I've been very, yeah.
What I'm saying is, I don't care if you don't like the White House. You got to give credit where it's due. This was a brilliant move. It really was. It seemed like all hell was going to break loose. It seemed like they were all backed into the corner. And instead, he's saying, okay, let me give everybody else some leniency to deal with China until we get China sorted out. And then we can go ahead and deal with everyone else. I mean, and you say that it was leaked. It almost seems like they were testing the water, see what would happen to make sure that their plan worked. Like, this seems not by accident. Like, again, there's not one soul out there that said any of this was real. No one said that leak was part of the plan, that's coming. It's inevitable that they're going to do this 90-day pause. Like, everybody said, oh, this is just misreporting. It's just the White House and chaos. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just saying, like, give credit where it's due. Like, this is just a good move. Like, negotiating wise, this is a great move.
I would disagree with it being a good a good move. It's the good news is we have taken the knife out of our own back. I don't know if we can praise the move of putting it in the first place. We were told that the 90-day reprieve was fake news, that it was asked about and it was said the president will do what the president will do, and they ran with the 90-day pause. The market loved it, and then we found out fake news. It's fake news. Market hated that, and then I think that's what gave them the idea. Maybe a 90-day pause is what we need, because it's not just the radicals out protesting. It's people who plan to retire in the next 5 years, or who are already retired and are watching years of gains be erased. You got to do something. The better move would have been to not stab ourselves in the back in the first place.
I
Yeah,
mean,
just to be
we can
clear,
say
Nick,
all that all day.
I know.
But
know.
I'm just saying, everyone can sit there and talk about, it's not the good way, it's not diplomatic, it's all that. But guess what? We've been sitting here talking about this, whether we've seen Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, whether it was Mitt Romney whenever he was going against McCain. I mean, you can go on and on. Everyone's talked about these issues with China, no matter what party you're at, and no one's ever done anything or even gotten an actual needle moved. So clearly, what everyone has talked about hasn't worked. So there's a certain point where we have to at least let it play out, because what we've been doing doesn't work.
This doesn't work either. I think this is a different
We don't know
flavor
that.
of poison.
Don't know that yet.
I mean, you don't know it.
Okay, wait, guys.
Apparently
This
now
is not
you
a
can see to the future, but you can't on stock prices, can you?
Yeah. Again, let's stay focused here, guys. Okay, this is not a political show. We're not here to debate whether or not it was a good move or not good move. I am just basically reacting when you said that this was something and nobody.
I talk about if it's a good move.
No, you.
This is gonna be great content for you, but I'll just say right now, if I think it's a good move, I can say it's a good move. You want to talk about tariffs? I can give my opinion on tariffs.
I guess what I'm saying is that let's not turn the show into a political. You know, this one side's good and one side's bad. I
haven't said that. I literally said Nancy,
Schumer.
We haven't said political anything. This isn't politics.
I'm with Nick on this one, which is rare.
Okay, we can. I get again. That's not my interest. My interest is talking about Tesla, the company, the product. We're talking about the move by Donald Trump, which does affect everything. The economy absolutely affects Tesla. We need to talk about that. I'm not here trying to say that, oh, this administration is so dumb and they made the wrong moves. I was simply pointing out that this is something that I personally, you were saying, I've been very calm this whole time. I'm not overreacting. There were a lot of people reporting that this move that he did with the tariffs that shocked the world, that shocked the economy, that shocked the market, absolutely is already on a day-by-day basis impacting companies. They're shutting down businesses and so forth. But I knew that something had to happen within a day or two. And then, you knew that you heard the 90-day pause was a leak kind of thing. So that's why when he said, oh, you were shocked that this happened. I wasn't. It was something that had to happen. It was part of his plan. I'm not saying it wasn't part of his plan. So that's not the argument. So that's great.
That's not my point. My point is you didn't know. You had no idea.
No one knows anything.
You did not know that this was the next tactic in the move.
No one knows what the next tactic. I didn't say that. All I'm saying. Okay. I think we're arguing about something that's not that important, honestly.
Well, no. The reason I'm being so adamant about this is because while you said you don't want things to get political, what it sounds like is you're undermining what I think was generally a good move because of politics. And all I'm saying is, in a moment where China kept going up, it was clever, I thought, to go ahead and say, hey, let's stop focusing on everybody. Let's focus on China. Let's make friends and peace over here, at least for the next 90 days. Now let's focus on one thing. I'm saying I think that was a good move, no matter how you parse it. We're up literally 14%, 17%, 20%. I mean, like it was great. That's all I'm saying.
I'm happy to resume talking just Tesla. We've got the good news out of the way. The good news is the market is responding nicely to this shift, and
For
we'll
now.
find out more for now. Oh yeah. Don't you love it when you get a sugar rush and then the next day it's gone and people are like, but
Yeah,
I
I don't
thought it
trust
was.
this. I don't trust this move.
No, the reason I don't want to talk politics is not because I don't want to talk politics. It's that if we are going to, then you go down the rabbit hole and you want to be very complete in your discussion, both sides, whatever opinions anybody might have. Let's do that. And that's not my interest in this particular venue right now. But if this is what you want to do, we can. If it's got something associated with what, Elon is associated with the government, Elon's working with the government, we need to talk about it. Whether or not
We're
this
not
was a good
talking
move or not,
politics.
the China
There's no politics
and
here.
the China, the U.S. Tariff war is going to impact Tesla. It is impacting the world. Whatever impacts the world is something we need to talk about, and that's why we're talking about it. And I'm just trying to not. As soon as you start pointing to one side's better than the other side, then we need to
point out where I did that.
So when I said let's not do that, that's what I meant. So then you said no, what's wrong? It's okay. All right, that's what I'm trying to clarify.
Schumer, Mitt Romney. This is the bipartisan opinion that China has abused their power. This is
they absolutely. You need to negotiate against China. China is that's a massive important situation that needs to be dealt with. So nobody's arguing with that. Yeah.
Let me also say, as they should from their point of view, they should do what they're doing, but we should also do what we need to do for us. Everyone needs to do what's in their best interest.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I think it's wrong for China to potentially devalue their currency. But if I was Chinese, I'd be like, hell yeah, do that. This is our strength. We're playing the cards we have. So you got to play the cards you have. But I am in this country. I live in this country. I'm a citizen here. So I'm biased towards us.
Yeah.
But they're not. I don't think they're doing anything wrong, ethically or morally. It's the game. We're all playing our game.
Yep. Brian just reported that China is actually withholding some very critical minerals that are important for electric vehicle batteries and other things that U.S. manufacturing needs. And so, this is a straight-on war at this point, especially raising the tariffs to 125%. That is, I don't know. I'm not a tariff expert. That could be okay, but it sounds like it's pretty high. We'll see what happens now, what the reactions are.
I think 12 minutes is enough coverage on this. We have more good news to share, don't we?
Well, this is a big one, of course. So I mean, the big ones are did you guys realize that there's actually 5 things that happened about Tesla in the last few days, just over the weekend? But many of us have ignored it because we're so caught up with the most important thing, which is tariffs and economy and everything that kind of goes over it. But basically, the first one is, Tesla announced that they're going to do full self-driving supervised coming to Europe. They, of course, it's still pending regulatory approval, but they did drop a video showing that they're testing FSD in what looks like the Netherlands. And then you had Tesla Vice President Ashok Swami actually come out, and he did a post saying that that FSD's end-to-end modeling is able to scale not only in China but Europe. And then you had Lars Morvey asking what can be added to the Teslas, and one of the questions was Grok. Can Grok come? And Grok itself came back and said that it's on its way. And in another post, they actually said that it's coming in April. Then you had Tesla's director of cell manufacturing saying that 4680s not only is the lowest cost, but now they're going to be fully scaled by this year. Then we saw 80 job openings for Optimus, and then Giga Texas, all Model Ys and Cybertrucks are driving themselves. And then I think the regular Model Ys are being sold now in China and the US and maybe in Europe too. So not just launch edition. So lots of big things. Anything there you guys want to grab and talk about first?
Well, the easiest one is FSD in Europe. They released some footage of it driving around Amsterdam. That is a difficult city. It wasn't like rush hour, but there were still, in the short video they played, hundreds of bicycles on the road, on the very narrow roads. There were difficult situations it had to go through, and it behaved the way I would expect it to here. That doesn't surprise me. It's a right-hand drive country. It just did it. I can see why regulators would want to be hesitant. I can see why this will pass regulations and be released. Nick, what are your thoughts?
Uh, yeah, I don't know. Like I feel like we've had so many of these false starts the wrong word, but like these, oh, I'm excited, FSD Europe, and then it's like, oh, but we're still pending regulatory, whatever. I'm like, God, man, it's like, the boys are blue, and I'm like, how much longer are we going to get these announcements? Like at least China, it was just boom, it went.
Right.
It was like, oh, didn't see that coming, and the June FSD in Austin or Robotax in Austin, but I feel like with Europe, it's like these regulations could take forever. Um, I don't know. I've gotten optimistic before about FSD in Europe. It seems insane to me that it's out there in China before Europe. Like it seems absolutely wild to me that that's the case. Like I get, Europe has a lot of regulations and it's a bureaucracy nightmare, but geez, China is, you know, they have lots of competitors there and they have a whole data privacy issue and the Great Wall, which if you guys know is like their firewall that they have there. Like they don't allow anything in or out. I mean, you can hardly use VPNs. So you just would have I mean, and remember, it wasn't that long ago where Teslas weren't allowed in certain areas or streets because of the cameras. So you just would have thought that the CCP would never have allowed this in the short run. And I would have thought Europe would have been more forward about this and thinking about safety and other positives. So it's wild to me. It's like, if at this point China is putting FSD out there before you are, the bureaucracy and the red tape and the regulations and whatever, or just their level of scared or precaution is way higher than I ever thought. So I don't know. I'm always the optimist here when it comes to this stuff, but I don't know what that means. Pending regulatory, what's that mean? Another 2 years, another 3 years? I mean, we've had so many people say, "Oh, it's just got to get through this and this date and this," and it's like the never-ending hoops we got to jump through. It seems. I mean, do you
There are
guys feel that way at
people.
all?
I hear you loud and clear. There are people who say all we need is this check mark, and they don't understand that
Yeah.
sometimes those bodies don't meet but once a year or every other year. It's like in Texas when they didn't get direct sales last time. They said, we'll get it in the next legislative session. Guys, that's in 2 years. That's in
Yeah, that's
that
insane.
starts in 100 weeks. So there's, but what I've seen from Onyx, from I think the Tesla AI team, is that they're looking at like April or May. Herbert, what did you see? I mean, it's like
Of
imminent,
what?
right?
Which one?
Regulatory approval. When is?
Well, yeah. So I get everybody's saying the correct thing, which is like we were, like, it's not yet done. We're still waiting for regulatory approval in Europe. So you're right. It's like, don't tell me until it's done. But my point here is that Tesla Europe dropped this video of FSD driving in Europe. And then Ashok Goswami himself made a post saying that, just proud that FSD end-to-end can work at scale, not only in China, but Europe. So it just sounds like they wouldn't have done that if they didn't feel like pretty confident that it's imminent at this point.
I guess here's my question, and maybe you guys know, maybe we need to ask Alexandra to go do what she does and dive into all the boring stuff and make it digestible for us. But okay, what are the next steps? Let's work backwards from approval backwards. What has to be done? Like, is this next regulatory approval a preliminary regulatory approval for 90 days, and then we have to do another check, and like, you get what I'm saying? Like, what is the full scope? Like, I really wish I knew that.
Yeah.
I definitely don't have an answer to that. It looks like we've seen some great posts by Kees on X. He's in the Netherlands, laying out some of the processes and procedures Tesla's been using to try and use the Netherlands as a backdoor to get into the greater EU market. I don't know how well that's working. I don't know what I just don't know anything about it. I can't say it's good or bad. I think it's good, but I don't know. I definitely don't know. I share your frustration on that, Nick.
Yeah. We don't know.
The
but
question I
think-
would ask on Europe FSD, and for that matter, China FSD, is how much more revenue are we going to recognize because of it?
That's a great question.
So this is the Europe drop that they did that we just showed that video. Here's Ashaka Swami saying the end-to-end model continues to scale well to other regions, first China, now Europe. This is Ashok himself, now Europe. So, right, it could just be that they're testing it. And then Omar had this post, which is very interesting. I don't know how real this is, but he said, once a vehicle or system receives type approval from a recognized authority in one EU country, that approval is valid across the entire EEA, which includes the 27 EU countries, plus Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway, 30 countries in total. This mutual recognition eliminates the need for separate approvals in each country, streamlining market access. The EU also integrates standards from the UNECE, which is the group that we've been waiting to actually approve FSD. This agreement includes over 60 countries. So it's making it sound like here that once you get one pass through one group, in this case, Netherlands, that the rest should fall quickly.
I believe, not saying that I'm an expert on this, I believe that is for a preliminary approval, meaning that's not an actual approval. So if Netherlands, and this is the loophole I think that Keys was talking about, if Netherlands gets approval, then they can, I think it's like 30 months or something, be approved everywhere until there's full regulatory approval. I'm going off memory of what I think Keys wrote. I think that might be what you just sent me, Brian. But I don't know. I don't know if we could pull that up to.
Yeah, Herbert, I put the post from X from Keys Roland Shop on in the private message there.
Yeah.
He's making sure it's not a Rickroll.
I gotta hide the messages here. That one?
That's the one. FSD approval strategy in Europe just got real. This is the first formal evidence that Tesla isn't just thinking about FSD in Europe. They're actively executing a multi-country approval plan. New documents confirm what I expected. Testing it on public roads in Europe. Filed for regulatory exemption with Norwegian authorities. Critical step to secure EU-wide approval via Article 39. And then he posted some photos showing what's going on.
Yeah, we're not there yet, but it's getting very, very close. That's the point. So that's good news. It's coming soon. Okay, what else? What's the next big thing that you guys liked out of that list? Did you guys understand what it means that we're going regular Model Ys at this point instead of just the launch edition? What does that mean, Brian?
Well, I actually have a friend, Rob, who ordered a launch edition, wanted all the things in the bundle, and his order was canceled. I'm sorry, you have to select a different configuration. And he's like, but I wanted all those things. So he's, what it means is for people who weren't planning to purchase FSD, because currently FSD is $100 a month versus $8,000 to purchase. That's 80 months. A lot of people don't know if they're going to keep their car 80 months. It's a better deal for them to just pay the service. And I would argue, the subscription, I would argue that it's a better deal for Tesla because you can count 100% of that revenue right out of the gate. Although if they are unsupervised this year, you could count all of it by the end of the year anyhow. That's going to be quite a ticking cash bomb. But they will have... Wall Street loves recurring revenue, and if it works, it works. So, I think what this means is that the Model Y just got a whole lot more affordable. If you add on the $7,500 federal credit and realize that you can get the car in a month, this is what we were waiting for.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, I think what it means, obviously, is that the scale of the new Model Y is now getting close to full scale. And so when you first launch a new product, you do launch edition, you got to stack it so that's very expensive, and you get the people who really want to buy the car, but you don't want it to be, huge numbers of people demanding to get the car right away. You do the launch edition once your factory is able to start building these regular cars, then you release that. So that's where I think that's what it means, that these factories are now almost all of factories, right? We know for sure that it's in US. That's the one thing we were waiting for the longest time. We've heard that it's happening in China. I don't know yet. I haven't confirmed if it's happening in Europe, but it means that each of these factories, they're now getting to that point. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. What I'm really curious about is kind of goes back to what you're talking about, Brian, is what happens from a revenue perspective now that we're in China, that will be in Europe. Like, what is that? How meaningful is that? Unfortunately, we don't have Tesla breaking things out in the United States, and maybe that's not even a good metric. Maybe we're not really going to see real adoption until we get robo taxis, because the barrier to entry is too high otherwise, to have it really be meaningful. But I think that's kind of where I think that's what's getting exciting, is that we're kind of in that zone now for potential.
Yeah, my understanding is that there's 2.5 million cars in the US that's capable of FSD. There's 2.5 million cars in China that is capable of FSD, but they only offered it to the hardware 4 cars. So what percentage of them, and no subscription, no monthly subscription, just the, $8,500, I think it costs there US dollars to buy FSD. So I would expect it to be a small number. I don't expect it to be a huge jump quite yet. It has gone viral. So, it seems like people are very excited about watching what FSD. It's been clear at this point that it's better than the Chinese alternatives. And so maybe there's uptake. I still think that it's limited to the hardware 4 cars. And so it's going to be a smaller number.
I think that's entirely possible. Yeah, we'll find out.
Yeah. And then
how crucial do you guys think the bumper camera is to unsupervised? Because it's only on the new Model Y and the Cybertruck, but like the hardware 4 Model 3 Highland is it's very capable. I don't believe it's used during driving. I think it's only used during extreme, like no speed situations, to make sure there's no cats or kids under the front of your car, or like a parking block the car forgot about when it parked a week ago, whatever it may be. Do you think that's a critical item?
I think if it is, honestly, no, I don't think it's critical for robotaxi. But as you can imagine, as the vehicles, the robotaxi gets rolled out, they're going to do improvements. They're going to update the computers, update the cameras. If they think, hey, we should put a camera up here, like, I think that'd be good. I think there's ways to work around that. Like Sentry mode, for example. It's when Sentry mode is, you can leverage that, right? You can just be aware if anything goes in front of your car or not, and if so, it sucks because it takes up a lot of memory while it's just sitting there idle, and that will be reduce your battery, a big battery drain. But I think from a robotaxi perspective, in reality, you're probably moving constantly, going from point to point. And so then it's not really that big of a deal, because you're going to know if someone just walked in front of you or not. I guess if someone's nefariously just the perfect hiding underneath the car, crawling somehow to get right in front of it, where all of a sudden none of the other cameras picked it up, I guess that's one thing. But I don't think it's going to be that much of a issue. And if it is, I'm pretty sure I think they would just add the camera.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a big deal to run a line to the FSD computer and put a camera on the front bumper. Like, I think that's like they probably tell you, hey, it's probably like a $50 mod all in, but they'll probably charge you like $1,000 to do it. And that'd probably be it.
Yeah.
I
don't think it's
$43, by the way.
Oh, I know.
$43.41.
20%.
$44.16. My gosh. Yeah, it's about 20%. So, I don't know, guys. It's doom. It's over. I keep telling you.
Yeah. That's great to see. I don't think that the front bumper cameras is important for robotaxi. So obviously we're driving it. Nick and I, Brian, we all have it. We're all driving it. We know that the product already works today. And the things that it needs to solve in order to be completely full robotaxi, I don't believe requires a front camera. If that was an issue, then the front we shouldn't be able to drive as far as often as varied drives that we've been having now. Having said that, every brand new car that Tesla makes, right? The Cybercab, the Cybertruck, the Model Ys will all have the front camera. I think it's going to be moving on forward. When they said that you will be able to put your car into the robotaxi network second half of next year, right? Is that going to require all of us who wants to put it in to bring the car into service, have it retrofitted? If it does, great, no worries, right? That's like Nick was saying, it's not going to cost a lot of money, honestly, to do that, and the return on that is so big that might as well do it. But I don't think we even need it, right? I mean, Nick, you and I drive you're using FSD now and haven't had an intervention for 2 months at this point. And I'm like, what exactly was the actual hoo-ha in the last 2 years that everybody kept saying, forget, you're not going to be able to put your car in anymore because it doesn't have the front camera. It's like, stop that.
Yeah.
I don't think you need a front camera for the hoo-ha, but there's the thing is that I've noticed is that if you'd have asked me a year ago if we needed a front camera, I'd have said yes, because when they first got rid of ultrasonic, I did not have ultrasonic on my October 23 Fremont build. It had no idea where that curb was. Sometimes you'd be over it. Sometimes you'd be a foot and a half away from it. I think you should stop. And there was, but now it works. It genuinely works. I no longer feel a need for it. Now, if I had a Cybertruck, of course, I'd like to be able to see over that giant nose. I'd like to know where the curb is. I'd like to know you could hide an entire shopping cart practically in front of that car because it's a big car. But for a Model Y, for a Model 3, I don't feel it's necessary for my use case, but I think it'll be fine.
Brian, I'm July 2023. So we're brothers.
But I think you're a Texas build, aren't you?
No, I'm not. I'm Fremont.
Oh, okay. Oh,
yeah.
there you
And
go.
you want to know something that's cool and maybe there's too much information? Part of my next name, I'm not gonna say this out loud. I'll tell you guys afterwards.
Are you in a Model Y or 3?
Why?
Okay.
Model
because
Y
I was
Performance.
curious.
Yeah. Now I was going to talk about my VIN number. It's interesting, the sequence of the numbers, but I'll tell you about it afterwards.
I think that's a fair one to not publish.
You don't want to talk about that.
But Herbert, I will say I definitely have had interventions over the last 2 months.
Yeah.
I would say there are it's a couple mistakes that it made. It screwed up a roundabout for me. I guess over the weekend when I was in Georgia, and it was in the wrong lane. Like completely went to the wrong lane. So that wasn't good. That's the second intervention. And I told you that one about, or I think I told you where it's at a traffic light. We have a left, and cars in front of us have straight, and it's taking its left when the other cars who go straight have the right of way before we can make our left on green.
Yeah.
And it's weird that it's like coming out of like the grocery store, and it's like this like small road that's between like Publix and Whole Foods, and it's like this. It's weird. It's not like it's a major traffic intersection, but like it's definitely not doing the right thing. So I would call all three of those critical disengagements.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not perfect, but it's also it's critical, but I would say they're not safety necessarily, because the way it's like if you make a mistake when you drive and you handle it safely, like like when you do one of those like, ooh, my bad, like that was me, not you, sorry, like one of those, but you still handle it safely. It's like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not trying to like sugarcoat it. Like what's wrong is wrong. You can't be doing that really for robotaxi, but even then it's almost inevitable with robotaxi that you're going to have those moments because we're still interfacing the roads with humans. So I think, there's gray in certain areas. But with that said, I don't think you need the front bumper camera either. But it would be nice to have for certain things. Like sometimes, I'm sure you guys have experienced this, FSD will like gain out of a parallel spot. It will back up a little bit it'll go up and you're like, it's clear, go. And it'll do an extra backup just to make sure. And it's like if you had a front bumper camera, you wouldn't have even done that extra backup. It's small, but you know, it's you want good experience, want a good customer experience. So I think that they would probably do something for that. Anyways, those are my thoughts.
Well, I mean, yeah. So they're going to have all their Tesla owned cars. They will have it. They'll have all the cybercabs. They will have it. And then the question is whether or not customer owned cars, our cars, when we put it in, do they want to retrofit it? Or maybe they'll just restrict it to certain geofenced areas, right? Without requiring the front camera. You know, it's like, it's not really needed. We'll see. Yeah. And like you said, it's like if you need to put your car in, maybe they will say that, okay, in order to put your car in, we need to retrofit it with certain equipment. We need to, I don't know, like clean it. We have to double check and inspect it to make sure that it's worthy of being driven in a network before we just allow you in it. Yeah, all these things might happen. Makes sense.
And you'll have to pay for it.
Or you have to share revenue with them, and you have to commit to sharing certain revenue for a certain period of time, I think, right?
Well, I think you're going to have to do that regardless.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways,
Well,
this is fun that we're talking about it. It's going to happen
I'll-
like next year. That's the plan.
I'll tell you one thing I'm excited about. I've talked to a number of people who say I would buy a cybercab, but I would not put it on the larger network. I would only make it available to my friends and family, and maybe people with an unbelievably high rating. The AAA rated kind of riders.
Why did they say that, Brian? Because cleanliness.
Fear. I mean,
Fear
yes.
of what?
Well, fear of some crazy stranger doing harm, or getting sick, or whatever it may be.
But what Tesla has shown is that they can actually use the cameras to actually know what's happened, to actually send it to an automated cleaning, and then they'll send it. There was a patent that they shared where they showed that if you let your car in, your whatever car you own, into the network, it will first go get cleaned, go do a service, and then you go, hey, I want it back by 5 p.m. Pick me up, bring me back home from work. It will go to get cleaned before it picks you up. So, and then you've got the camera. So if you needed to see what happened in your car, did somebody throw up? They would catch it. They would know.
And it's very easy to see who did what. You could look at it as a gateway. It's your gateway drug into putting it on the broader network. You and I both buy one. I only let my friends use it. You put yours out all the time. Your friends still get to use it, but I'm making twice as much money on it as you are. At some point, you soften up.
Yeah. I think you won't get enough rides to, like, you're at least going to want to break even, right?
I don't break even on my car. But
yeah, but I'm just saying, if you're going to even put it out there for this, you might as well break even.
I agree with you, but
guys, the stock is up almost 20%, right? That's 57%. Is that like, where does that rank in terms of the biggest gain in any one day?
Well, I don't know about percentage wise, but dollar wise, I paid less than $14 a share. So for me, on my initial investment, I've tripled my money today.
Can I just, obviously not as financial advice, but just word of caution. This move is because of what was just announced.
Yep. Now,
China's going to respond. And we don't know what that's going to be. So I'm not going to tell you what to do or not to do. I personally would not be out there doing anything silly like going YOLOing with a whole bunch of call options at the money. Just saying.
The fundamentals did not change this morning. And if you're looking at the 10-year horizon, all you should be doing is dollar cost averaging anyway, because you would have caught this all the way down and all the way back up. But yes, the fundamentals could change for Tesla due to China's response, whatever it may be.
Yeah,
I
and
just
in reality, I would say, if anything, before, not really in a trade war. Now, very clearly,
very clearly.
unequivocally in a
Yeah.
trade war. So,
Yeah.
that is part of the equation where I think we see a lot of euphemism, a lot of excitement here, a lot of euphoria. Uh, Not saying it's not going to hold up or we're not off the lows and maybe we did bottom, but like, I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer either. I'm just saying
Yeah.
they, while I love everything that's happening, they've got their moves, they've got things they can do. Not time to YOLO.
So I looked it up. This looks like it's the fourth largest gain in one day. The largest gain is 24.4%. That occurred on May 9th, 2013. Then we had a 21% on February 3rd, 2020, and a 19.64% in March 9, 2021. So 19.64%. This has to go past 19.64% to become the third fastest gain in one day.
So I've been here for 3 of those 4 biggest days, but I don't buy and sell. I just hold. So I'm here also for all of the biggest drop days.
Yeah. Yeah, sir needs to update his charts. I'll tell him. He knows. He will. Yeah,
What do you think he does all day?
he does all day.
Yeah, he updates
Yeah.
charts.
Yeah. I mean, and it's how quickly things change, right? Just a few hours ago, yesterday, the world is Armageddon, and it can change again. That's what you're saying, Nick. I get you. But I just wanted to remind folks the things that happened this weekend, right? You got the FSD supervised in Europe, possibly. You got the Grok possibly come. We just talked about a few more things. What about the 4680 batteries? The director of cell manufacturing posted on his LinkedIn that not only is he proud that the team has achieved the lowest cost per kilowatt hour battery, but that it's going to be fully ramped now this year. Fully ramped now. Brian, you seem to know quite a bit about this. How significant is that going to be?
What it means is that we can begin replicating the factory elsewhere. You don't want to make a copy of a work in progress. You want to iron it out first. You try not to go into full production until you're ready. And more sites can now follow. Berlin built their 4680 building first, but they did not equip it because with shifts in manufacturing credits, all that equipment was diverted back to Texas to build cells there. So we may see the Berlin finally getting their own battery manufacturing. That would be great. It would also likely reduce the cost of the vehicles they're producing. It would allow them to go back to a structural battery pack, which would be another cost savings. How do you increase sales when you're already selling the top model in the entire world? Well, you make the car better, which they did, and you make it cheaper, which this would allow.
Well, we're finally here. Dry battery electrode, this invention to reduce cost, increase speed.
Are we dry? Is it dry now? Are we all done with
cathode,
that?
Cathode, not the anode, right? So still got work to do, but it's a significant one, right?
I think the anode was. Okay. I'm not all caught up on it. I don't know if that. Yeah, I don't know. The factory is very small for the amount of production it does, which would lead me to believe that there are no wet processes, because the wet process requires just like hundreds of meters of kiln for drying. It's grossly energy inefficient. We did see that at Giga Texas. They have doubled the size of the switchyard, but we don't think that's for kilns. We think that's for the data center, because that data center is thirsty.
Okay. So we did mention a few things that was good news for Tesla. But at the end of the day, right, we all agree that the biggest thing that's going to happen for Tesla, it's a car company. It's got to sell lots of cars, is whether or not the economy is going to head into a recession, whether or not the tariff situation, whether or not what's going to happen. Nick, what's your thinking at this point? What is going to be happening to the economy? Is the Fed going to react and do anything with the interest rates?
No, I don't think so. I think the Fed is probably doing what they should do, is just sit back right now, which I think would be advisable just in general. I think that's prudent because these whipsaws are violent and dangerous. So unless you know what you're doing, I would say be careful. And I think the Fed feels the same way. They don't know what they don't know. They don't know what the next move is. Um, or maybe they do. I don't know. Maybe they knew all along because they're talking. Besant and JP Jerome Powell seem to have a good relationship. Maybe they forecasted this, telegraphed this to them, or they spoke behind closed doors. I don't know. So I don't think the Fed's going to do anything. They're going to sit tight, in my opinion. I think right now it's okay. What's China's reaction? I and I think that's the biggest question right now. Like I look, this move is very, like you mentioned Grok, we mentioned FSD in China, FSD in Europe. We got June coming up. We got earnings coming up. None of this has anything to do with that. Tesla has not traded at all on its own fundamentals or its own news or anything in like 3 months.
Mhm.
It is tied to the market. And in fact, I would say pretty much all these stocks are just tied to the market right now. And if you want to know what Tesla's doing, just look at the index. That's what it's doing. We are all essentially invested in the index right now. It's like there's no differentiation between these companies at this point. Obviously, I'm being overly general here, but I think what's next is just to see what China's move is. I did a lot of research last night about what happens if they start to sell off all of their U.S. debt. And I actually came to a surprising conclusion that that's not a card they really have. They've got less than $1 trillion of U.S. debt. It's actually closer to like 700 billion. If they sold it, they would take a hit on it. They would lose money. It would hurt them as far as the dollar to their currency. As far as the 10-year, it would maybe be a quarter to 50 basis points on the 10-year. Like, okay, whoop-de-doo. Like, we literally just saw that happen. More than that just happened yesterday. We went from like 3.8 to 4.5, right? That's way more than that. So unless they coordinated with Japan, for example, okay, that'd be different. I think Japan's like one of the top countries that own our debt. And so it's going to be interesting just to see what they do. But at the end of the day, the conclusion I came to last night with some of the research I was doing is that there's not much anyone can really do. Like I don't think people I didn't. So not just people, but I didn't even. I don't think people truly understand how big the United States is from a GDP or
Mhm.
stock market, for example. Just to put this in context, we're essentially just call it roughly double the size as China when it comes to GDP. Put that to the side. Our stock market is about 5 to 6x the size of the next biggest, which is China.
Mhm.
Nvidia's market cap alone is bigger than essentially, only us, China, and Japan, I think, have bigger stock markets than the valuation of Nvidia. Like, just think about that. So to truly dent us, like, that's gonna be really hard. It's gonna be really hard when you look at the size of our companies, our balance sheet. So the proportion of that, I've never looked it up. I never had a need to, but I started trying to really like figure this out on what influences could happen. And the truth is, China can't touch our stock market. They can't. There's nothing they can do. GDP wise, they can't really affect us. They should have kept a lot more of our debt, honestly, because then they would kind of have more of a weapon against us. So it's going to be interesting to see what they can do. I don't think they're going to try to nationalize any companies because, well, that would deter a lot of what they're trying to get, which is investment into the country. Of course, investment that they deem appropriate. So I don't know what they have other than really devaluing their currency, and I don't know, maybe invading Taiwan to take
Invading
over. I mean,
Taiwan.
yeah, like I don't know
That's
what
the
all they have,
scariest thing ever.
but like I said, I also didn't think that Trump would do what he did today. So I don't know what I don't know, but it's not the things that I thought would have been the obvious moves. So I don't know what's next. All I'm saying is I'm sitting back and watching the show, and it is Whether you love it or hate it, it is entertaining.
It's-
Uh,
yeah, that's absolutely entertaining. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is huge. Yeah. What was I going to point out in his comment about this 90-day pause? Yeah, he's really going right after China. There's no doubt about it now at this point. What will China do to react?
Speaking of China, I did want to remind everyone that on the 13th, I depart for Shanghai. I will be there to attend the Shanghai Auto Show, but I will be getting there early, so I'll be covering a lot of stuff outside of that. In advance of that, I'll be covering a lot of cars, a lot of everything. So if you have any contacts in Shanghai, reach out to me, please. For the love of all that's holy, I
Ryan,
could use a little more.
That's great. I want you to do what you did with the Cybercab, really evaluate inside and out what these Chinese car companies are like, the top BYD competitors, the Huawei's, everything we've been saying. Do some of these full self-driving tests and compare. That would be great if you
Yeah.
can do that.
Yeah, is that your plan, Brian? Like, what's the agenda? What's the goal? What can we give us a teaser? What can we expect
Sure.
from the one and only great Brian White?
Overselling it a bit. I appreciate it.
No, dude, when your videos come out, I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
we're gonna learn
Oh,
something today.
So there are, as as many know, over 100 serious manufacturers of electric cars in China. There are some world-class cars that a lot of us have never heard of. Have you heard of Avatar, spelled with a missing A? That is a car that can go park itself. It's Avatar, but it can go. That's a car where you can go. You're at the mall, there's no parking. You get out and just let it go wander. It'll find a parking spot, it'll park. And and if it doesn't find one, it'll just keep wandering until you come back out and then get back in it. It's fine. So it's summon and banish that actually works. And so there are countless companies like that. So my objective is to every day cover at least 2 or 3 cars in depth where I and even if I don't have any contacts there, you know how Tesla has showrooms at the mall? Well, all of these 100+ companies have showrooms at malls. They're all over town. So I can spend endless time just covering car after car and trying to find what's really going on. Yeah.
Brian, so I imagine you have some contacts already and some things lined up. Maybe you don't, but I imagine you have a game plan for some. Which ones are you interested in that you don't have any contacts or whatever? So if someone's listening, they can be like, "Oh, hey, but I thought you would have had this, but here I am."
So I don't have a contact yet with Geely, which is a huge group with a ton of sub-brands, but Kyle Connor from Out of Spec, I'm going to be rolling with his crew for part of it. He has contacts there. Avatar is the one that I would be most excited about because I don't have any contacts and I don't know if Kyle does either. But it's, there's a lot of just endless. So those would be the two big ones. And of course, if BYD wants to, BYD would be one where I would love an opportunity to speak with their engineers, to actually interview them. But we'll see if that's something that can be done.
Would you like to do a man on the street interview where you just grab anybody's walking by and you say, do you know who Tesla is? Who's Elon Musk? How do you feel about them? What do you know about Tesla cars? Just to do that?
I should put together a list of questions so I can rapid fire and have a whole theme where each video is, what do you think of the company? And then you get 10, 15 opinions. Or I could just tack them onto the end of other videos. Be pretty interesting to see.
Mm-hmm.
It would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all the things I'm working on.
Yeah. If anybody isn't already, go subscribe to Brian. I mean, obviously Herbert as well, but go subscribe to Brian. Like his stuff, give him some views because honestly, like the stuff that you do, like no one else is doing this stuff. And it's like, amazing market research for us to, like not just know what's going on, but to hold on to conviction in our investments. It's without content like yours and yours, Herbert, like think of how many people would have just sold them like, it's never happening.
I had a gentleman say to me last week on X, "Oh, good, you're going to go give some attention to the CCP cars." And I said, "Yes, Yes, if we as investors do not know what the competition is doing, we are investing with one eye closed. That is not a good philosophy. We should know, even though those cars are not likely coming to the US, and a lot of US cars are definitely not going to China. There's the entire rest of the world. Tesla competes with China in Europe, in South America, in Africa. Less so on South America and Africa yet, but they're coming. So we need to know what they're doing. We need to keep our eyes peeled, as it were. So I am going to, Herbert, dip out now so that I can take a quick break before the after show where I address as many of the questions from the comments as I can. Nick, a pleasure chatting with you, and everybody else, I'll see you in about 5 minutes.
Cheers, my
Thank you,
friend.
Brian. Yep. Hardest working, the one who travels the most. It's Brian. Check out his channel, Futuraza. Yeah. Do you think that what Elon said, right? He's always pretty good at Elon when he makes predictions about the future. And one of the things he said was that in the future is going to be Tesla and 9 Chinese car companies, top 10. Still feel that that's the case?
I don't know. I mean, I think he has probably a better pulse than I do. So, yeah, I'd say
Yep.
he's. I mean, what do you think?
I don't think anything's changed since he said that. In fact, if it's coming true, right? These Chinese car companies are getting better, and they're the ones as close as the competitor. In the meantime, what he's predicting is that the European, Japanese, the American car companies, they've pulled back, if anything, right? None of them have actually stepped up and said we're back to becoming one of the leaders. So it is looking like that's the case.
I think all these companies, all the, we'll just call them legacy companies, I think they're all going to die.
Yeah.
And when I say die, I don't mean they're going to be non-existent, but like Porsche, they'll probably all look like Porsche, where, hey, they got like 2 models, 3 model. Porsche maybe has more, I don't know, but I'm only familiar with 1 or 2, I guess 3. But the iconic vehicles, like I could see Ford keeping a Mustang around, Chevy keeping the Camaro around, and maybe they have like 1 or other 2, but they're gonna be shells of what they were. Volkswagen, I think Volkswagen will still be around, but again, I think it'll be kind of a shell of what it was. Um, and then I think it'll be Tesla, and then yes, a lot of these Chinese manufacturers, but that's only, I think. And I just, what do you do, Herbert, when people just, when it's archaic to own a car? What do you do when it makes no sense to own a car? Because for what? Like that's such a big expense that seems just insane. Like if we started off with robo taxis, everybody would look at you like you're insane
To want to buy
to
your own car.
buy your own vehicle. You'd be like, why would I ever do that? Like
It
I
doesn't
have
make
to
sense
have real estate
economically.
in my house for it.
Yep.
I gotta clean it, maintain.
Yeah.
I mean, tips.
The
Like,
amount
I
of
mean,
money you
go
spend
on.
on the car and not the usage is just not fair. It's just not worth it. It doesn't make sense. Yeah.
I mean, just think about your house. Like,
Yeah.
is the idea that we have like garages? Like, we literally like so much of our house is a garage. It's like,
Yeah.
I think in a more recent future, in a not so far future, you're gonna see a world where houses are gonna be like, hey, garage optional. Do you want a garage or do you want an extra bedroom, an extra master bedroom? And I think that's the way houses are gonna start to be built. Garage is still important because a lot of us have tools and we want to work on our space, but maybe even then there won't be a garage door because what's the point of that? We can just have a door to the outside and it can be under AC, which also gives you more square footage, better for your home pricing. I mean, I don't know. I think the paradigm shift happens so dramatically.
Do you think it's going to happen though that quickly? Like it will be 10 years, 20 years, or is it going to be 5 years? Where you have more the robo taxis proven that we know that'll happen, but whether or not it's going to be rolled out quickly, and that's what I mean. 5 years is quickly, 10 years is kind of like expectations, and then normal could be 20 years before any of those changes will actually happen, despite the fact that you've got certain pockets of geographies that accept the robo taxi. How quickly do you think that this will be adopted?
So I think it's a sliding scale. I think that by 2030,
which
you're
is
going to have
5 years from now.
Yeah, I think by 2030, I think it'll be rare for 16-year-olds to 18-year-olds to even be bothering getting their driver's license.
Talking about the US? Yeah.
Yes. I think that'll be like a foreign concept.
It's already kind of rare now, though, right? Aren't we seeing that transition now, even with
It's
robotaxi?
less. It's
Yeah.
not rare.
Mhm.
Everybody pretty much still has to drive unless you live in a city.
Mhm.
But I think by 2030, the younger generation, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, college students, they're not going to, they just, how am I going to have a car? That makes no sense. Like, it just doesn't. So I think we're going to, by 2030, that'll be the state of things. You'll still see a lot of cars out there because people will have already bought their cars. And so why wouldn't they drive their own cars? It could be more cost. I mean, it's different once you bought a car, especially if it's bought and paid for already. But and Tesla owners will probably be the next group, I would say, after those younger people, because you'll probably have the option to retrofit your car and then put it into the network. And it's like, okay, well, if I still have a loan on it, even if it just breaks even, I don't need a car anymore because it's more cost effective for me to just, or people will buy your car, and you'll actually make money on it because they want to outfit their robotaxi network. I mean, I think things change quickly once it starts rolling out. Well, we're going to know here shortly. Come June, we'll see Austin. By the end of the year, we'll see how successful Austin is. We'll see what it looks like to scale it to certain other cities. And then I think 2026 is where you're going to see, can they truly scale quickly? And at that point, I think it's kind of over. If they're going to be doing printing a cyber cab every 5 seconds, it's...
Yeah, but even that, so I think that the key milestone to just remember is that Elon said that customer cars, our cars, won't be able to be added to the network until the second half of next year. That, to me, tells me that you're not going to have full penetration of any city until the second half of next year. Meantime, you might have hundreds, maybe 1,000, but not quite 10,000 cars, which is what you'll need to be an Uber-like service until the second half of next year. And so I think at that point, you'll start getting one city after another getting that, but it won't happen until customers can put in their cars. Unless you think that Tesla can create, 10,000 cars, put into a city, and they'll do that before, it's like sometime before the end of this year, or which is unlikely, or even the first half of next year, which I still think is very unlikely.
I mean, I think that is irrelevant. By 2030, there's so many that will have been printed.
Yeah, that once it gets going, especially if you can get the Cybercab line is incredible, then that can happen very quickly. Yeah. I agree. So thank you very much, Nick. That was fun. Stick on a second here, and you'll be redirected to Brian's channel, and he's got Q&A. Thanks, everybody. Bye all.
Cheers.